Alright, so in part one here, we're going to take a look at the first step and open up a Google Doc here. And I'm going to start off using an example. You're going to have your own forms, but this is a form that we're all going to recognize because we all have to fill it out. This is the Cal YMCA form. And so ideally your forms you'll have in a digital format so you can just cut and paste, which is what I did here with theirs. And then sometimes it comes in weird, so you have to I'd cut and paste everything in and then make sure you're all in the same font and stuff like that. But hopefully you don't have to type it out. But even if you do, it'll end up being faster in the end. But so basically we're switching it from either paper or Microsoft Word into a Google Doc. And at this point, normally is where you would save it and print it and have your parents or delegates fill it out, with the exception of there might be some lines in here to help you with that. But since we're joining the 21st century, we're going to take this form and make it look like this. And we're going to go in here in a second. I'm going to show you what all this means. But each one of these little things is information that the form, the Google form, will take and insert it into here. And so let me show you how to do that. And we're going to go, and let's pretend that this is your form. And this one's really short. You'll end up with probably, I don't know, 50 or 60 different information points. But you can take this basic example and apply it to more complex stuff. So the magic behind all this, I'm going to increase this a little bit, is this symbol right here. These greater than, less than symbols. So anything you put inside of here, we're going to call a tag. And that's information which will be taken from the form and inserted in. Alright, so, and a couple things you need to know is each tag needs to be unique, but it can be used multiple times. For example, if we were to do first name, and so there's first name here, but this is the delegate's first name, and this is the parent's first name. So because that's a unique piece of information, we need a unique tag. So like A or B. Now the parent's first name is going to be used here, and then again in their signature. So we'll go ahead, so the tag can be used multiple times, but for specific information we need a unique tag. Now A and B, and it can be whatever you want, as long as it's a string of lowercase letters. And for example, don't use any of these. So for example, a uppercase letter, a number, unless you spell it out. If you spell out TWO, that's fine. Any special symbols, dashes, spaces, periods, none of that. You want it to be a continuous string of lowercase letters. And I found as long as you do it that way, you won't have any issues. The other thing is, okay, A, that doesn't really mean anything to us, especially later on when we go and try and merge all the data together. So what you're going to want to do is tag it something that makes sense. So for the delegate, in all their information, I'm going to put delegate first, or like the DEL, and then, because that will help you in the end identify all your information. And it'll be more apparent later, but just trust me for now. So like delegate last. You could even put delegation. And you get the idea. So I'm going to go ahead and finish the rest of this. So I went ahead and filled the rest of this out. And some of this can get pretty long. So for, like, if I was to write out parent guardian 1, because we have multiple parent guardians on our form, so I just abbreviate it to PGO. So like parent guardian 1 first, parent guardian 1 last. Once you get to like parent guardian 1 phone primary secondary, and the tag could get really long. And that's actually something to watch out for. So like grade here. The actual answer is going to be 9, 10, 11, or 12. So the tag is quite a bit longer than the actual answer is going to be. Versus, let's say, comments. This could be a paragraph, so the tag is actually a lot shorter. Now, this comes into play. It's not too big of a deal, but it's something to watch out for. Like, right here, we have the policy number. So I have delegate insurance policy dental number. And in reality, it's not going to be this long. So maybe it'll be something, you know, like that. So it'll print out like this. But you can see that if you made it, if the tag was too short and the answer is longer, it'll take up more space. And if you have it formatted exactly what you want, but then you ended up taking a couple more lines of space than you thought, you could really mess up your formatting. So that's just something to be aware of. And it also sometimes if I think that an answer might run long, I like to leave some space at the bottom. And like in this case, you know, I could maybe move this up a little bit, or decrease font or something like that. So just watch out for that. Then other thing, these tags, however you format the tag is how the final thing will be printed. So for example, let's say we wanted to take all the answers and make them blue. That way to distinguish, okay, this is what was answered versus, you know, what the actual form just started out as. And then you can do so the actual answers now will print out blue. And let's say we want to distinguish this a little more, so the first and last name we're going to bold and indent. So the actual answer to these questions will be bold and indented. Here for the signature, one thing to watch out for is make sure you put a space between the parent's first name and last name, or else they'll run together. But you could, let's say, make it a little bit bigger, and instead of using Arial, we could use a handwritten font to make it look like an actual signature. Let's see, next thing is on ours, what I like to do, email is very important, because they need to fill it out properly, because if they type in their email address wrong, it'll end up somewhere in the ether. And so you need to make clear that their email needs to be correct and make sure that they fill it out correctly. Because on this form, it'll actually send the email directly to them. And the whole point is you don't have to do any work, so you don't want them calling you saying, "Hey, I didn't get the form." You can tell them, well, then they probably put in their email wrong, and then they have to redo it. But so they're going to end up getting an entire form, because we're doing registration forms right now. And what I like to do is for the very last page, just to make everything completely compliant, is we have them print out the last page with some text saying that they read through it and their signatures are valid, and then we have them actually sign this out with a pen and return it to us. And when we do that, I like to put in, let's say, a special code in the footer that they type in, or it could be something like just as long as it's unique. So, like the timestamp of when they, you know, submitted the form, or what I do is I just have them type in 7 random characters, because then that way it'll be that special code will also be on the signature page, so I know that the signature page that they submitted is in reference to the actual form that we sent them. So they can't come back later and say, oh, well, you know, this was actually meant for some other form or something like that, because your special code will be on both places. But that's basically about all for the Google Doc. It's just a matter of going through your entire document, make sure that you know, you type in everything properly and keep it neat. And yeah, and once you're done, we can move on to the next step.